in October this year, Ingmar called me and said, we already made our 2022 financial estimates. So you can have impact and deliver black numbers bottom line. So with that announcement, Ingmar, please come on stage and tell us about your platform.
Thank you, Marco. And before you leave, I want to give you something. I think this is amazing what you do. And for me, you're a climate hero, because it's a lot of people in sustainability that always have been there, talking within the sustainability bubble. But what you have done is to transform one of the best conferences where investor meet startups to become one of the best conferences for sustainability, investment and startups. So you're transforming so much what you do. And I think this conference location is great, but you will going to outgrow it, because what you're doing is just going to grow from here. So I want to give you this.
Thank you so much. And I was thinking, if I convert NOAH to sustainability, we can convert the entire world to sustainability.
Exactly.
It's
just do it.
Hard.
We can do it.
Show us how.
So I actually used to work in the finance industry. I was an entrepreneur running one of Sweden's fastest growing and profitable communication firm. We had clients such as BlackRock, Deutsche Bank, JP Morgan, and a lot of public traded companies, such as in this picture. I was doing that for 15 years, but one thing started a process for me, and that was when I got my first child 10 years ago, and now I have 3 children. I started to read about the future, look into the longer horizon, and I read about the climate crisis. This was 10 years ago, and I became so shocked that people didn't know about that we had this acute, severe, and life-threatening climate crisis. Climate change is not something happening in a distant future. It is happening here and now, and people just don't know about this. So the tipping point for me was when Donald Trump won the US election. That moment, it became so clear to me that our world leaders will not solve the climate crisis for us. So I wanted to use my knowledge, my skills of using technology, communication, and building network to connect all the people that are working on solutions that want to solve the climate crisis, and connect them with a platform so that can become the true leadership. That platform today is named We Don't Have Time. We are the world's largest social media for climate solutions. We gather change makers in over 160 countries, and we reach over 100 million people on social media every month. Imagine if what's happening in this room will not stay in this room, but will get out there to influence many, many others. That's how we're going to fill this arena next year. One part why we have become so successful is that we are trying to walk the talk. Because the best way of leading something is lead by example. So last year, I went here by train. It was a long train trip. I have done so many train trips. And the reason for it is that I want to avoid fossil fuel as much as possible. But I need to admit something. I was flying for the first time in 6 years this year, since I started We Don't Have Time. So I went here by plane. But what not so many people know is that it's now possible. It was not possible last year, but it's possible to actually replace the fuel. So I was not using any fossil fuel. I was not paying any money to the fossil fuel industry, and I was not receiving any fossil fuel subsidies. I paid for my travel myself. And the company providing this solution is Goodwings, one of the many, many partner solution providers that We Don't Have Time work with. It costs a little, but it's absolutely possible to fly without using fossil fuel. It's not emission-free, but it's fossil-free. And the coming years, I will come here by electric plane next time. We have the progress. And that's important When people read about the climate crisis today, I mean, now everyone knows that it's a crisis. And that itself is a problem, because they only know about the crisis. They don't see the solutions. They don't see the progress or the way forward. So most young people answer in service that they don't believe they have a future. That's really serious, because if you don't believe you have a future, you will not get an education, you will not do anything. You will just be depressed. And it's not true. We have so many solutions. We just need to create awareness about the solutions. I think that it's the most efficient way of move things in the right direction. And United Nations, they have those climate meetings. The biggest one is the COP conference that I was just visiting in Egypt a couple of weeks ago. What we do on those climate conferences is that we bring in all the solution makers, everyone that's acting on the climate. We bring in those voices into the discussion, into these meetings. And we also amplify what's happening on the ground on those meetings. We had 50 million viewers. We were live broadcasting over 500 speakers during that conference. But what's most important is not what's happening on those conference once a year. It's what's happening every day. So what we have built is a platform where the communication around solutions are ongoing every single day. And the way it works is that we work with the companies that have ambition to make progress, that have solutions. Those companies, they are using our platform to have a dialogue with all the change makers, to improve their solutions, to showcase their solutions. And we work very strategically with social media so that we get it out from here. We can't just be in this room in the sustainability bubble. We need to influence everyone out there so they are getting dragged in, so they want to contribute, so that we create hope by showing that we can do it. And the best thing of it all, this is also our business model. So we are getting paid to do exactly like this. And now I'm going to show you one of the global broadcasts we were doing earlier this year in Stockholm in June, where it actually was a UN meeting. It was a 50 years anniversary for the very, very first environment meeting UN hosted. And this was how it looked when we gathered all our partners to push the agenda forward. The best news is that it's a big, big need and market for doing what we do. Over half of the global companies, cities and investors have pledged to go net zero, have pledged to go fossil free. And if you're serious of achieving that target, you can't just focus on your own action. You need to push your supply chain. You need to change your customers, talk with your investors, and also push the policy makers to change the regulation to make it better. And that's exactly what we're doing on We Don't Have Time. And we see an incredible growth. We are now leaving the startup phase and entering the scale-up phase. We are growing more than exponentially. And the partners, the companies using our platform, they are paying recurring fees in order to get access to this tool where they can influence the climate agenda, push their suppliers and the policy makers. And we're doing this by including all continents, not just the global north or the global south. We are already present on the ground with offices in Stockholm, Europe, Washington, D.C., 500 meters from the Capitolium, and Nairobi, just the same quarter as the UNEP headquarters. And our ambition to be on all continents. So if you want to be part of this crucial meeting, this crucial platform, you can now do that by investing in us. We are the largest social media for climate solution. We already reach over 100 million people, and we work very closely together with the UN. And we are already backed by many, many influential investors, such as Jan Ståhlberg, the founder of EQT, the ex-finance minister of Sweden, and one of the best investors of them all, Marco Rodczynik. If you want to join us, reach out to me. I'm here all day and on wherever, if you call me. Thank you.
Ingmar has the patience with the officials, and I learn a lot from you. And the journey with We Don't Have Time, yeah, maybe we make money, but it's not necessarily about that. It's if you join the We Don't Have Time community as an investor or user, you just meet so many great people. People who,
like you.
well, like us, like the dinner you organized for Stockholm 50, where I was sitting next to the WWF CEO, Mr. Lambertini, and I told him about the data line. Sadly, he couldn't make it. But this is a new world, and for digital people to really know about sustainability, you have to engage with it. And We Don't Have Time is the #1 engagement platform. So good luck for the next year. Thank you so much, Ingmar.